Hello one all, it's your Dr. Stone, chapter 174, The Spectre of the Panama Canal. And finally, the Panama Canal is brought up! Yay! Just not how I expected it. Honestly, this is one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had reading manga because, for the last 2-3 weeks, we've all been debating, well, at least I've been debating, with myself in the comments and the Reddit page, whether or not they take the Panama Canal, whether or not that was a viable option, whether or not, it was still standing after 3,000 years. And the ultimate conclusion I came down to was, I don't know. I just don't know if it's still, up and running or not. And, that's the conclusion of the science team, of the greatest scientists, geographers, and everything else in the world. They just don't know if it's still standing. They just don't know if it's still passable. It really just makes it feel like we were part of the science team, part of the discussion of it, trying to debate whether or not it would be a viable option or not. I just love that. Plus, Chelsea even recommended the idea I had, that maybe the yacht would be able to fit through, but Stanley's ship wouldn't, so Stanley would have to go all the way around and then really delay him. Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. So Chelsea and I think the same. That's a little concerning. Anyway, so the big problem with this chapter is that even if they're going the same speed as Stanley's boat, the Perseus, sooner or later they're going to catch up to them, because they need to stop to actually harvest the rubber trees. So very, very bad. And what makes it even worse is that the Perseus gets within flight distance of them, then Stanley can just go out, on his plane and snipe them all from very, very far away, which would kill them. There's not a whole lot of reason to keep them alive if they already know the revival fluid recipe, so yeah, they're probably gonna die. And then things get very, very dark when they announce they're gonna send out a decoy team to the Panama Canal who will almost certainly be shot and murdered by Stanley. What series am I reading? It's actually kind of terrifying how easily they all accept this plan. Like, they all say it's awful, but none of them say, no, we're not going to do that. Though in the end, it's revealed that the only one they're sacrificing is the mobile science lab, which, still sad, still sad. This is the pride and joy of Katsuki, and he is just bawling his eyes out as it slowly floats away from them. Oh, poor Katsuki. Though the team is fairly evenly split over how they feel about it, Tsukasa, Hyoga, Ryu, Kawaku, Ukyo, Senku, they're like, I really don't care. It's just a machine. Meanwhile, Chrome, sweet little Suka, Katsuki, and Taiju are all giving it, fond farewell. With Taiju even giving it a One Piece reference. That's the end of the, Alibasta? The arc, where they can't say goodbye to Princess Vivi, so they all just kind of raise their hand up to show the X, to show that she will forever be a member of their crew, even if they're separated by a long distance, and it was just, oh, it's such a sweet moment. Honestly, this whole thing kind of reminds me of the, farewell of the Going Merry. Now I want to cry. Anyway, then Mr. Radar gets shocked again. This man gets shocked very easily. Like, everything Senku's team does is the most surprising thing he's ever seen in his entire life. Then we have Jen. Oh my freaking lord, Jen. Even his crack scar, which is just painted on, becomes a twisted, devilish, laughing face, and it is utterly terrifying, and it is another reason why I freaking love that man. So, question remains, what exactly is Stanley's team gonna do here? I mean, Stanley looks very ominous and terrifying, as he's saying, quite the stunt they're pulling. Petty and obvious, but clever. So, it seems like he's going after the decoy. He has to go after the canal boat because, if that isn't a decoy, then they'll get away from him, and he'll never be able to catch them. Well, if the other one is the real ship, the one with the Xeno on it, then, they'll be delayed by a little bit, but eventually they'll be able to catch up to them. Though I am curious about one thing. The mobile science lab is, programmed to go in a straight line. It's, autopilot. So I feel like sooner or later, Mr. Radar is going to notice, hey, the ship we're chasing, it's only going in a straight line. Well, the ship we aren't chasing, it stopped for a little bit. Now it's turning a little. Now it's going left. Now it's going right. That may be the one they're actually on. The other one might just be on autopilot. I could very much see that being the case. Anyway, then they're in the Amazon jungle, and it is surprisingly easy to harvest rubber from rubber trees. Good to know! Also, I do just love Boichino goes the extra mile drawing these giant trees, the rainforest, the animals. Unnecessary, but it just adds so much character to it, and I absolutely love it. And then Jen hands a weapon to the mad genius who's trying to take over the entire world. Which, might seem like a bad idea, but again, It is a tiny little knife. Exactly what is he gonna do with it? I mean, even if he used the knife to take Jen or Psuka or Senku hostage, I very much like Suka's chances of knocking out Zeno before he manages to put a nick in anybody. And this line right here, though, oh my freaking lord, this line. You and Senku are birds of a feather. You both are the type to taint science with lies, right? Oh, that was so absolutely perfect. And, it just really reminded me of back when Tsukasa murdered Senku. He said, if you promise not to do science, if you promise on science not to do it, then I'll know you're telling the truth because you would never taint science with lies. And that's exactly what's happening here, Zeno's not going to taint the science expedition by lying, by deceiving them, by trying to do something violent and stupid here. And for the first time since he found out Senku was alive, the light comes back to his eyes. It's only 2 panels, but the light is in his eyes. It's back. It's, the single sign of goodness and decency in this man. It really, really makes me optimistic that he can be redeemed, that he will eventually join Team Science and decide, not to be an evil dictator. Or maybe just to be, the evil dictator of America. Like, I could definitely see Senku agreeing to that. Like, all right, you want to be dictator? Sure, you get America. You get all that land. We'll take Japan and, the rest of the world, and anyone else who wakes up can deal with their own lands, rule it however they want. You get to be king. We'll probably do something more like democracy. Maybe Australia will do the kind of thing where whoever is the strongest and can beat someone in a barehanded boxing match becomes the new ruler for the next 4 years. Oh, that very much feels like an Australia thing to do. Though even with this touching moment, Jen makes it very obvious they are not going to let him anywhere near the communication device. Though I still feel like Zeno might somehow manage to use this situation to his benefits. Like maybe he'll carve a message in the tree, the coordinates they're going to, so that when Stanley eventually catches up here, he'll see that and he'll be able to track Zeno down, even, if he has to go all the way around South America, back over the other end, and through the Amazon to reach the point of petrification device, the source of all of this. Anyway, so making rubber, surprisingly easy. Just take the tree sap, mix it in with some vinegar and some sulfur powder, and then knead it and roll it, and you got big bouncy balls that Suka and Chelsea are absolutely loving to play with. It's so freaking adorable. I love those two. So yeah, now they have the next sheet device. They have rubber, and they can, use that to build the motorcycles to get across the Andes Mountain and then somehow find a way to raft down the Amazon. Good for them. So this is a fun chapter. Super glad the Panama Canal is finally brought up, because before this always felt like, something the author was ignoring. Like, yeah, it probably wouldn't work, but it still feels kind of weird that no one mentioned it. I mean, I could definitely argue, Senku, Zeno, Ryu, they'd all more or less assume that it was broken down, that wouldn't be passable. Tsukasa and Hyoga would probably just, respect Senku enough to realize, okay, if that was a viable option, they would have mentioned it, so it's probably not going to work. Taiju didn't even know what it was, and he was referring to it as the Banana Canal, because of course he was. And then that just leaves Ukyo, who, I guess if anyone would have mentioned it, it would have been him, but maybe he assumed that it wasn't passable, that, it would have broken down after those thousands of years, so he didn't even bother mentioning it. Anyway, now they have the rubber, so they can use it to start making some tires, and then build motorcycles to get them across the mountain. I'm very interested in how that's going to do. They said in the last chapter they're going to need 6 motorcycles, which seemed like a very, very specific number for a very large team. Really, really not sure why they said 6. Is it only like they believe that 6 people among them are capable of driving? Because we know Taiju can't drive. That's made abundantly clear. Carlos is a good driver. Kawaku doesn't have a license, but I feel like she'd have no trouble figuring out how to make it work. In fact, in the chapter, in the first page of last week's chapter, we saw her riding a bike with Luna on her back, so that'd certainly make a lot of sense. Kasuki, he designed and drove the multiple science lab, the cars, so he's definitely all on board for driving some fun. No doubt in my mind that Ryu knows how to drive, because of course he does. So we have Kawaku, Ryu, Carlos, Kasuki. That still leaves 2 more drivers. So I guess the remaining 2 would be Tsukasa and Hyoga. Tsukasa and Ukyo. Both possibilities there. I'm curious. I mean, there's definitely more than 6 people here who I think could figure out how to drive a motorcycle, so I'm not sure why they decided to limit it at 6. Maybe that's all the parts they have, because they only have like 6 motors or something? I'm really not sure about that. Curious, but yeah. Let me think all this down below. Do you think they're going to have any trouble building the motorcycles? Who do you think the 6 drivers are going to be? And what's going to happen? What adventures are they going to run into trying to, drive over the Andes Mountains? I guess Machu Picchu is a little bit too south for them on this journey, but I'd definitely be curious to see if it's still standing. Probably not, but that'd be certainly amazing. Honestly, I also want them to go back to the Panama Canal. I know they say it's probably blocked, but if there's still even, just a stream that connects one ocean to the other, I think it'd be just such an amazing, monumental show of what science can really do. They can create things that last even thousands of years, and I think that would be so amazing to say. I don't know, maybe down the road, maybe when they finish their time in South America after they partner up with Stanley again, Stanley will be like, oh yeah, I actually went to the Panama Canal while I was chasing your boat. I want to kill you for that, by the way. But I saw it. It looks like it's still passable, so we can just use that to go back the way we came. Yay! But yeah, let me know all down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the next video. And until then,
peace!